We're in the Saturn V hull. We're standing under a real Saturn V rocket. This was a rocket built exact, true Saturn V, but never meant to fly. Rockets bend and flex and the propellant sloshes into tanks. We built the control system. We had to know how all that was happening so the control system would not react to that when it shouldn't. So this vehicle was built, a true exact Saturn V, hung up in a test stand out here at Marshall Space Flight Center. It was built just for this purpose again, and shaken and rattled and punched and tanks filled, and to find out how the fuel really did slosh, how the vibration happened, so we could build filters in the control system to filter all that out and make the whole system stable. Nowadays, a lot of that can probably be done by computer, but in the early 60s, no, we didn't have the kind of computers that could do that or the software to do it either. So we had to build a whole rocket to find out. Once that was all done, now we have the rocket. Everybody can see, fortunately. Born in Adams, I came here as a co-op student, which is where you go to school one term, work one term, back and forth. I guess I did okay because I got back in when I got my degree in electrical engineering, came back here to work full-time. Worked for NASA starting in 1966, then some other support contractors after that. I actually grew up in Tampa, Florida, went to school in Atlanta, Georgia. Now we live over here for the rest of my life, so this is really home. I majored in electrical engineering, like I think I said. A lot of people think electrical is power and plugging stuff in, but another part of electrical engineering is control systems and dynamics and that sort of thing. That's the path I went down, more in computer simulation even too.
And what did you do for NASA?
In the Apollo period, I had the digital computer from the Saturn V rocket in a lab with a whole bunch of other computers to make it think it was actually flying. So we could take the data from this Saturn V rocket, play it through the filters that we created in the lab through the real flight program and check that what we'd done was correct and the vehicle really was stable.
What was your favorite part about what you were doing?
The favorite part was trying to just make it all work, and of course the culmination of all that was the first landing on the moon. That was a big deal.
Did you get to meet any of the astronauts?
I met a few of them, not really. Most of the astronauts worked out of Houston, of course. When we were here, there was what's called a neutral buoyancy tank here, underwater training, built at Marshall that most of them came to, but I did not personally have anything to do with that. So no, I did not meet a lot of them.
What's your take on Elon Musk and SpaceX?
It's hard to say. He's building things that return and land, a booster to reuse again. When we built the Saturn V, nobody, I guess, had even thought of that. Of course, that takes a lot longer, a lot more computer, a lot more rocket. We were told we're going to the moon. You know, Kennedy made his speech going to the moon this decade, and that was only 9 years away. So we did not have time to worry about reusing or whatever. We built a rocket to get it off the ground and put the payload in orbit and go. Elon has done other things. We'll see how that works out. It has to take a bigger rocket because it has to carry fuel to land, not as much payload. So you have to do multiple trips to make the same payload to orbit. There's good and bad of that, but we'll see how that works out in the long range, I say.
Do you think we'll get to Mars in this century?
In this century, before 2100? That's quite possible. That's a long way off yet. I have no hope of actually being able to see it. I won't be around then, but there's a good chance of that. NASA's working on the Artemis program now, which is a rocket somewhat bigger than the Saturn V. First to go back to the moon, but also there will be a thing called the Gateway to orbit the moon. We'll go to that first, and that will be a jumping off spot to land on the moon and also to take off for Mars. It's a long-range plan. So we'll see how that works out.
Is the Artemis project on time, or are we a little bit behind
The first
schedule?
one was delayed several months. It had, being the very first one of those, it had a lot of problems, admittedly. hopefully all that's been fixed now. It did fly successfully last year, early last year. Artemis 2 is scheduled toward the end of next year. And Artemis 3, a year or so after that, would be the first landing on the moon again. We'll see how it goes, no telling.
Thank you very much.